What if I told you 80% of Americans are chasing the wrong definition of financial freedom, and that's exactly why they never reach it? In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you what the data actually says about money, freedom, and the real path to independence. And, if you pay attention until the end, you'll walk away knowing exactly what to do to escape the trap that keeps most people stuck forever. Let's start with a reality check. According to the Federal Reserve, over 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and that includes people making six figures. Think about that. More than half of the country is one missed paycheck away from financial stress, even with what most would consider good money. So clearly, income alone isn't the answer. When surveyed, most Americans say financial freedom means being debt-free, owning a home, and having some money in savings. But here's where the data reveals something shocking. People who focus only on being debt-free or saving money often never build real wealth. Why? Because being debt-free is not the same as being financially free. One gives you peace of mind, the other gives you control of time. According to Charles Schwab's 2024 Modern Wealth Survey, 78% of Americans define wealth as living comfortably, not having millions of dollars. But, when those same people are asked what comfortable means, most can't define it. They just say, not worrying about money. And that's the problem. You can't hit a target you can't see. The people who actually achieve financial freedom have one thing in common. They define it differently. They don't say comfort, they say control. Real freedom isn't about the biggest paycheck, it's owning your day, while your money keeps working when you don't. The goal is simple: decouple time from income and let assets carry the load. That's how control replaces constant hustle. Most people still trade hours for dollars. That's where the 80% go wrong. Saving alone isn't freedom. Saving protects. Investing and ownership create independence. Now, saving matters, but here's the data. The average American saves about 4.6% of their income. Even if you double that, you'll never outsave inflation, taxes, and the rising cost of living. To put it into perspective, inflation has averaged 3.8% per year over the past 50 years. So if you're saving money in a regular bank account earning less than 1% interest, you're actually losing wealth in real terms. Meanwhile, the wealthy invest. They make their money earn money. A dollar saved might stay a dollar. But a dollar invested, consistently, intelligently, becomes $10 over time. According to a Vanguard study, people who invested in index funds monthly over 20 years earned an average annual return of 7%, turning $500 a month into over $260,000. That's the difference between financial survival and financial freedom. Saving protects your money, investing multiplies it, and freedom requires multiplication. Mistake number 2, they confuse income with wealth. In 2023, the U.S. Census Bureau reported that the median household income was about $74,000 a year, but the median net worth, only about $192,000, and that includes home equity. Here's the scary part. 35% of Americans have a net worth under $10,000. That means even if someone earns six figures, if they're spending it all, they're broke, just at a higher level. Wealth is not what you earn, it's what you keep and what grows when you're not working. According to a study from Fidelity, 88% of millionaires are self-made, not born rich. They simply learned how to keep and multiply their income instead of inflating their lifestyle. If you make $60,000 a year and save and invest 20%, that's $12,000 a year compounding for you. If you make $150,000 and spend all of it, you're still broke. Financial freedom starts when you stop trying to look rich and start acting wealthy. Mistake number 3. They believe working harder is the solution. Let's look at time data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The average full-time worker spends 8.5 hours per weekday working and 2.7 hours per day on screens outside of work. That means almost 11 hours a day spent working or recovering from work. And yet most people say they feel stuck financially. Why? Because working more hours doesn't solve a broken system. If your income depends 100% on your labor, you'll never escape the cycle. You might make more money for a while, but the cost is your time, the one thing you can't buy back. The wealthy understand leverage. They find ways to separate time from income. That could be through building systems, investing, or creating something that earns when they're not present. According to IRS data, over 70% of millionaires have at least 3 sources of income, often a mix of business, investments, and real estate. They don't work harder, they build smarter. The bottom 80% focus on labor income, The top 20% focus on leveraged income. That's the difference between earning and escaping. Mistake number 4. They follow the wrong financial playbook. Think about what most people were taught growing up. Go to school, get a job, buy a house, save for retirement. But this playbook was written for the industrial age, not the digital one. Back then, job security existed. Pensions existed. Houses appreciated faster than inflation. But today, the average house is 40% more expensive than it was just 5 years ago. Wages haven't kept up, and retirement accounts like 401ks are subject to market volatility that most people don't understand. According to the Economic Policy Institute, the average 401k balance for Americans aged 55 to 64 is about $163,000. If you withdrew 4% per year, the traditional safe withdrawal rate, that's only $6,500 a year in retirement income. That's not freedom. That's survival. So what's the modern playbook? It's not about working until you're 65. It's about building systems of income now that give you options later. It's about turning your job into a launch pad, not a life sentence. The wealthy focus on ownership, owning assets, equity, or content that can pay them indefinitely. The average person focuses on employment, selling their time 1 hour at a time. You can't retire from a job that depends on you showing up, but you can retire from systems that earn for you. Mistake number 5. They ignore the psychology of money. According to the Financial Health Network, only 29% of Americans are considered financially healthy. That means even people who have good jobs and decent savings still feel anxious about money. And that anxiety doesn't come from numbers. It comes from mindset. The data shows that most people spend money emotionally, not logically. A 2022 Bankrate survey found that 41% of Americans made impulse purchases to boost their mood. But here's the hidden cost. Every impulse purchase delays freedom. We live in a culture that glorifies consumption and hides discipline. Social media has trained people to equate spending with success, but the people who reach financial independence learn to do the opposite. They buy time, not things. As Morgan Housel wrote in The Psychology of Money, the highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up and say, I can do whatever I want today. That's the freedom people are really chasing, not Lamborghinis or designer clothes, control over their day. So, how do you actually get there? Let's reverse engineer what the top 20% are doing differently. First, they build a gap between earning and spending. According to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, the personal saving rate in the U.S. is only 3.5%. The wealthy aim for 20 to 30%. That difference compounds into freedom. Second, they turn earned income into asset income. That could be through investing in the stock market, real estate, or online businesses. The key isn't what they buy. It's that they buy ownership. Third, they reinvest profits instead of inflating their lifestyle. A 2023 Charles Schwab study found that 60% of self-made millionaires still live in homes worth less than $500,000. They let their money grow instead of letting their expenses grow. And finally, they focus on education. Not the kind you get in school, but the kind that teaches you how money actually works. Here's what the data says about financial literacy. According to FINRA's National Financial Capability Study, only 37% of Americans can correctly answer 5 basic financial questions. That's the real problem. People aren't stupid, they're uninformed. The wealthy spend time learning about taxes, assets, and cash flow. They understand compounding, debt leverage, and opportunity cost. The 80% avoid those topics because they seem boring or complicated. But here's the truth. The boring stuff builds freedom. Compound interest isn't exciting to watch, but over 10 years, it's life-changing. Learning how taxes work might sound tedious, but that knowledge can save you tens of thousands a year. As Albert Einstein said, compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it. Now, let's visualize this. If you invested just $500 a month at 8% annual growth for 20 years, you'd have about $296,000. But if you delayed just 5 years before starting, that number drops to $174,000. That's the cost of waiting. Over $120,000 gone, just from delay. The difference between the 20% who reach freedom and the 80% who never do isn't luck, it's behavior. The financially free act with urgency. They don't wait for the perfect time. They start small and stay consistent. If you want financial freedom, you have to think in decades, not days. Here's what that looks like in practice. Year 1. Focus on cutting unnecessary expenses and building a savings habit. Year 2, use that savings to start investing, even if it's small. Year 3, build a second income stream that doesn't depend on your job. Year 4, reinvest everything from that stream to grow it faster. Year 5, you'll start to see real compounding. This isn't theory, it's math. According to the IRS, there are over 22 million small business owners in the US, many of whom started part-time, and data from the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor shows that 54% of small business owners still keep their day jobs when they start. That's leverage in action. They're not quitting to build freedom, they're using their jobs to fund it. That's the mindset shift the 80% never make. They see their job as a trap. The wealthy see it as capital. Your job can pay your bills, or it can fund your freedom. It depends on how you use it. Financial freedom isn't luck, talent, or privilege. It's the result of small, consistent actions applied over time. According to Fidelity's Millionaire Outlook study, the average self-made millionaire took 28 years to reach 7 figures. That's patience and persistence, not magic. So, if you're watching this right now and feeling behind, remember this: you are not late. You're just early to the decision that will change your life. Most people never make that decision. They keep working, spending, hoping, and waiting for someone else to rescue them. But the data shows no one is coming. You have to be the one who does it. Start by defining your version of freedom. What does it actually look like for you? How much do you need? How much do you spend? How much time do you want back? Then, reverse engineer it. Because the difference between the 80% who chase comfort and the 20% who build freedom isn't that the latter had more opportunities. It's that they stopped chasing comfort and started chasing control. Freedom doesn't come from more money. It comes from more choices. And the moment you start designing your life around choices, you're already freer than most people will ever be. If this video brought you value, take a second to like it. It helps the channel reach more people who want to escape the rat race and build real financial independence. Comment below with one thing you're changing about your money this year, and subscribe for more data-driven videos on wealth, freedom, and mindset. Disclaimer: this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and should not be taken as financial advice. Now, let's visualize this. If you invested just $500 a month at 8% annual growth for 20 years, you'd have about $296,000. But if you delayed just 5 years before starting, that number drops to $174,000. That's the cost of waiting, over $120,000 gone, just from delay.